Hi guys, Yacca here. So we have the miniset being announced and we only have a few days before it releases. So this is great. If you haven't watched the announcement trailer, I can really recommend that. It's really in the Hearthstone spirit. But we have a bunch of new cards and I want to talk about them and see how this actually fits in the meta. Is there anything I can think of that will emerge? Something might be coming up out of these new cards being added to the pool. Shortly around what I've done in the past and also the stars rating that I use. I rate both in Constructed and Arena. Those are the two primary game modes that I do play. For both modes, a 1-star means that it's likely not going to see play. It doesn't really relate or resonate with the power level of the card. The card might still be powerful. It could also be not powerful, be really weak, and therefore merit a 1-star rating. But as such, you have seen 1-star cards in the past being really powerful. So it's not really something that resonates there, but the chance of play with the current set of cards that is available and how good it will be to see play either there or in the arena. So on a 1, that's really, really low. On a 2, it needs a lot of support, but could see some play if there's a fringe deck which could use it, but very, very unlikely. 3, there's a good chance it'll be fit into some kind of archetype. And for Arena, it's just a good card to draft. 4, it's a strong card to draft in Arena. And 4, for Constructed, there's the way I see it, will see play in Constructed and find a good home in one or more decks. And 5 stars for Constructed is that it'll kind of be meta defining. It'll be something that you will see be available across multiple decks and be a very powerful card. And 5 stars for Arena will be that it's almost always a draft on that card specifically. So it's that's kind of the short and sweet explanation. With that said, then we are already having some stars on the screen right now, and we have the Fellfire Deadeye, which is a dual class card. We'll be going through the dual class, the Demon Hunter, the Druid, and the Hunter cards in this video, and the rest in another one. Just to split things up a little bit, because there's a bunch of cards. So the Fellfire Deadeye, I rate that 4 stars in both game modes. Let's start with the Arena. Having a 2-mana 2/3 is just really, really great in the Arena. It is something, a good stat line, and having a discount, like a bit of a mana cheat, that for instance for Demon Hunter you have like a free hero power as long as it's sitting there on the board. That's really strong, and therefore it is above average, and average being 3, then it's a 4-star rating in Arena. For Constructed, I looked through the existing archetypes, being it will slot into an aggressive deck, and both Aggro Demon Hunter and also Face Hunter seems like there's a good fit to put this in as a 2-drop, either as a 2-drop or something that, for instance, for Hunter suits quite well into turn 3. So there will be a home there where you can replace some of the cards. It will be tried out, and if it's strong enough, it will remain in those 2 classes, in those 2 archetypes. So there should be a good home for it already in the existing meta. Yeah, so then that's the conclusion behind that, and we'll just shift on through the cards. Whenever I finish on talking about a card, we'll just switch it over to the next one. I will not do any big transitions other than this one time explaining about it. Then we have the Resizing Pouch, which is a dual class between Hunter and Druid, and I think this is a powerful card. It's just not really something where you can say, whenever you do a specific deck build, you want to have a game plan behind that deck. This is kind of a filler card, which doesn't do anything predictable, and therefore I do rate this as a 3-star rating in Constructed. Although the effect of discovering a card which just fills out the rest of your mana curve, that is really powerful and is both an early game card but also a late game card. The use case I do see for it could, for instance, be an existing deck with the OTK or Malygos Druid. So, for instance, if you have 1 mana left, you have your Gadgets and Auctioneer in the board, and then you play this. Then this one, because you have 0 mana left, should discover either a Lightning Bloom, Innervate, or Moonfire, something like that, which allows you to cycle or even generate even more mana and just recycling through the deck even faster. So that's an application like a filler card in that specific build, but just to draw through your deck even faster than you can do already today. That's the way I can see that this could work, as it is with the existing setup, existing decks that we see so far. And for Arena, just having the choice to spend your mana efficiently, discovering a card that you need for the situation, that's just really powerful, and that's why I rated 5 stars. As you can see, this one I did not put a rating on. It's not that I don't want to rate the card. I can see there's just, both from my side, but also from a bunch of other guys that's been reviewing cards, a bit of confusion behind this card specifically. Are you discovering the cards? It's not a discover because it's only 2, and that's probably why it's stated like this. The choose effect is something that is inherited from Druids. I actually think the card is really smart. It's a good design where you're saying you have 2 cards, you have a choose 1 effect, and then you have the overload for the Shaman being the dual class identity or the class identity of Shaman, saying, well, you don't have to choose, you can get both, but then you get an overload. That's really smart. Good design. But the difference here is that people are not sure, and I'm not sure, the spells that you look at, are they generated or are they spells from your deck? I think it is better if it's something that you can put in the deck of cards that you want to play, and then those are the cards that you get to choose from, because then you can say specifically you can further the game plan of the deck that you have designed. The other effect can also be very powerful, so I do expect that we will have a good chance of this seeing play, either as something that is used as part of a control or mid-range deck, whatever it is, out of the Druid or Shaman. There's a good chance that you will see it there. But the effect that it's not 100% clear makes it a little bit difficult for me to evaluate completely, and therefore I won't put any stars on it. But the chance for it to see play, definitely in Arena, but also for Constructed, I think that is very high. Then we have the Imprisoned Phoenix, a averagely statted 2-drop between Mage and Shaman with an elemental tag. I rate this rather low because it's okay stats and it's +2 spell damage, which is really crazy. But then you do have the dormant effect there for 2 turns, and how you can actually make this work, I'm unsure of. I think it needs a lot more support. I do not rate it 1 because the dormant effect, it is safe, it is on the board, it's protected, your opponent cannot interact with it when it's dormant. So it needs to be like you put this on the board, wait 2 turns, you're on 4 mana, maybe 5 if you dropped it on 3, and then you go nuts. A bunch of small spells, you have your Sorcerer's Apprentice, and then you just shoot your opponent in the face with a lot of stuff, or generated spells, and all this, maybe, because that is a lot of things that needs to come together. And if it's something that is, if this is really the core piece that has been missing, that's not really what I see. But that's the kind of use case I could see for it. Whenever it's revealed, it goes out of the dormant phase, then you do something crazy. And that's the only use case I can see for it. In Arena, it's kind of the same thing. Not the same thing. You can do like a combo with it, but it's got to be sitting there. The deck that you draft needs to have spells that you can use as soon as the dormant effect is alleviated, but it is very much a tell towards your opponent, saying, well, when this one gets revealed, I do have a chance to punch you even harder in either directly to your opponent's face or the board, maybe even more primarily. And there's some chance of playing around that, maybe. But you don't usually have a way of dictating your draft in the Arena, so it's kind of like, it's not going to be great. Powerful card, but lacks the synergy as it is right now to make it work the way I see it, at least. Then we have Warden Ivory, and she is such a powerful card. So the way it works is that it's a dual class between Mage and Rogue, and whenever you play the Key Warden, she gets you, on the battle cry, you get to discover a spell, so you get to choose which one it is. And then it has a residual effect with the spell bursts. Then if you then play a spell while this is sitting on the board, or in the same turn or whatever, then you get another spell of the one that you just chosen in the discover effect. And just breaking the rules a little bit, saying, well, maybe you get to discover a spell that you already have 2 copies of, like say Eviscerate. Then you get the 3rd copy, and then you play another spell, whatever that might be, then you get the 4th copy. Just breaking the confines of the game is usually where you see the powerful game mechanics. And that is definitely true for both Arena and for Constructed. This is really a powerful card, and much like we saw with Jandice Barrow, I think this is going to be like an inclusion in many or all decks that has some kind of mid-range strategy where you don't go completely aggro. Then this will be a very strong card to include in all decks that revolve around doing some kind of mid-rangey or control stuff. Then we have a dual class between Warrior and Rogue. It also has a corrupt effect. The effect in itself is that you give a minion +2 attack. The corrupt effect is that you also do give your weapon +2 attack. The stars rating I give here is from the strongest class, and the strongest class for this, the way I see it, is in Rogue, because you can always choose to get a weapon in your hand, and there's an aggro Rogue in Constructed at the moment, and there I do feel that this is where it'll be tried out and see if it's worth it and if it can be used. But getting 4 points of damage, where 2 of them is going to be repetitive damage from a minion for 1 mana, that is really powerful, also compared to whatever else is in the aggro Rogue or Phase Rogue, or whatever you like, the more aggressive build of Rogue as it is right now. So this has a good chance why I rate it 3 stars, and also for getting this amount of dictated attack in Arena is also really good. If it is in Warrior, it might actually be rated as a 2-star card, the way I see it in Arena. But I take the highest use case as the one I'm presenting here. But just be aware there's quite a discrepancy between the 2 classes, where I definitely see this is much more applicable in Rogue than it is in Warrior, because there's no archetype which is really using like the aggressive push of attack stats in Warrior as it is at the moment. Then we have a 4-mana spell for between Paladin and Warrior called Barricade. And Barricade is good if you have no minions on the board. For 4 mana you get a 2/4, and if this is the only minion you have on the board, then you generate another one. So if you just look at pure stats for 4 mana, it's 4 attack and 8 health, with taunt distributed among 2 minions, which is good. However, then you need to have a clear board. That's kind of the condition for this one to really be good. There is potentially a use for it in dual Paladin, and also some kind of control warrior, where you are just trying to hold off the early aggression. Some of those decks, especially maybe the dual Paladin, is a little bit vulnerable to the very fast-paced aggro decks, but this card might be able to hold off the aggression just a little bit, and then you can generate your big win conditions, tutoring out the big minions from the deck that you have created. There, I do see some kind of use for it. It'll be tried out. The decks that I've been describing aren't really meta at the moment, but might be pushed a little bit further up the tier list. For Arena, it is just a bad card. If you get to the condition that I mentioned, yes, it's strong, but Arena is very much around having stuff on the board. So if you drop this, then you might be catching a little bit more up towards your opponent, but your opponent already has the upper hand because it's very minion based, very much board centric kind of play mode. So therefore, you'd probably be better off, because you can only use it when you're behind, really, because a 4 mana 2/4, it's not really all that good. So you might want to draft a strong deck instead of drafting for a deck that will be at a disadvantage or be behind. That it's probably not going to be the greatest pick in a draft, but sometimes it might be better than whatever you're presented with in that specific draft. Then we have Rally, a dual class spell between Paladin and Priest. Again, I think the use case between the two classes are very different. For Priest, it is essentially not going to work. There's no archetype, there's no prevalent list, just or something very low in the tier list where you say you play 1, 2, and 3, and then you want to drop this one, and then you get them all back and stuff like that. That's really not what I see at the moment. But for Paladin, you do have the potential also, if you have your Goody 2 shields, that's a good 3-drop. You might have your shot bot on 2, that's a good 2-drop. That might even have the secondary. If your opponent just hit into the first one of the shot bots, that one might still even be on the board, the remaining 2/1 from the Reborn effect. So there, in Paladin, I could see that this could work in order to make an early board, maybe kind of a Zoo Swarm style, maybe just supporting maybe the Libram Paladin in the early game, something like that. Maybe also resurrecting a Penflinger that's been killed off could be something that you could do out of the Rally. So there is a chance it'll find a home. I rated 3 stars. And for Arena, maybe also a little bit more 3 stars there than like you do have with the Paladin, because it's very much more minion focused than Constructed is, and therefore I do think that this could actually be quite fair, a good use card in both classes in the Arena. Not great, but good, because it's still going to be inferior minions, and you need at least a 2 and a 3 for this one to be good, and you're not really guaranteed to get that in the Arena. You might coin into a 3 and drop 2 3s in a row, and then this one on 4, even though one of the 3 cost minions is killed off for both of them, you only get 1 back. So there's some contingencies in the Arena where this one might not be good. so I can't rate it too high, but getting 6 cost worth of minions for 4 mana, if you get that to work, then it's really good. Then we have a dual class spell between Priest and Warlock, and boy is this good. I was debating with myself, is this going to be like, should I make it a 5-star card the way I see it? And it's up there, it's around there, because it's like the old Priest spell called Mass Hysteria, where every minion is attacking everyone else. But I was just thinking about the use case. If you're a Priest up against a Warlock or another Warlock, you might be the controlled Warlock against the Zoo Warlock. So you have your opponent just swarming the board, and damaging himself, and then dropping a Flesh Giant. Like, oh. But then you can push the 8/8 to attack each and every other minion on the board, essentially clearing the board more or less, and finishing itself off, you having a clear board for 3 mana. That's really enticing. It's such a powerful control card. And that's also why I said maybe not 5 stars, because it's not going to go into each and every deck. Mid-range decks, yes. Control decks, definitely. And aggressive decks, of course not. You don't really want to be doing that. What could also be interesting is that, for instance, if you have like this effect where you can drop like a strong minion on the board, and you can actually hit your own minion. It doesn't have to be your opponent's minions. You can also say, well, now I drop a big minion, I don't have rush or charge or anything, but it's strong enough to deal with your board, and there's so many use cases for this. It is really powerful, and I think the Hysteria will see play, and they'll be trying out in the control decks, and it's a very strong addition there. And for Arena, just having that initiative on the board just makes it a powerful card. Then we have a dual class card between around the Soul Fragments. It's between the Demon Hunter and Warlock, and I think this has a really good chance of finding a home whenever you are talking about a deck that wants to utilize Soul Fragments. You have your control Warlock today, and you also have your Soul Demon Hunter. It's just a matter of trying to figure out some of the cards that you want to replace. Do you want to go a little bit away from maybe for Demon Hunter into maybe a little bit more board-centric? You want to have minions? Then this is a perfect inclusion. But if you still want to go the more phase attack weapon route, then you can't really replace some of the cards with this one specifically. But there's a good chance it'll see play, and it's a strong minion definitely, and it also has the corrupt effect of also tutoring out, drawing a card, which is also really great for both decks. I think this will be tried, and if it is good enough, then there'll be a staple in those decks. But it's narrowed into the Soul Fragments way of playing, and therefore it's not going to be through each and every meta deck within the two classes. But there's a good chance it'll see playing. For Arena, it's just a strong card. Drawing a card potentially as an upside would be amazing, but just having a 3 mana 3/4 which shuffles in healing into your deck when you draw it, even though you don't have any other Soul Fragment synergies, then you just get a little bit of healing with those two classes specifically, which sacrifice a lot of health to control the board or to draw cards. That's a good card. Therefore, it is to me definitely a 4-star card in the Arena. Then we have the Illidari Studies, which allows you to discover an outcast card. For constructed, whenever you have these outcast mechanics, it's usually very narrow, the application of this, and that's something that you kind of want to run in the deck. And I think the decks that we do see right now is really trimmed towards having this outcast mechanic as a core part of the deck. And it works in the decks that's been made, and I don't think Illidari Studies will help too much with that. I think if you generate like card draw, like a Skull or Spectral Sight, then you get too much draw. So I think this doesn't really find a home in constructed. With that said, for Arena, outcast cards, when you generate them, discover them, and they're put in the outcast position and is even discounted, that's really powerful. And therefore, for Arena, if you play it a little bit more late game, so you're sure you can play the outcast card, whatever it is that has been generated, whether you need card draw, or whether it's a big minion, or whatever might be the case, then I do think it's quite powerful in the Arena, and that's why the discrepancy between the constructed and the Arena rating. Then we have the Fell Saber for Demon Hunter. And it's a 4 mana 5/6, which is a great stat line for a 4-drop, but it can't attack unless you attacked. So it's, for instance, for Demon Hunter, for Demon Hunter, this would mean for you to do anything with it, you have to consider it as a 5 mana 5/6, because on the next turn you need to invest the 1 mana to attack whatever, a minion or your opponent or whatever might be the case, for this one to act. And that is a lingering effect, so to speak. You need to do this each and every turn, and it has no other effects. It's not a taunt, there's no like death rattle effects or anything regarding this card specifically. So for having this drawback for constructed, that you need to dictate or use your face to do trades or attack your opponent in the face, for this one even to be active, has in the past been a mechanic that has been that hasn't been working in decks. So therefore, for constructed, maybe as why I do rate, I was debating with myself, should I make it a 1-star? But maybe in an aggressive Demon Hunter, this could be like the top end card of trying to finish off your opponent, because it is a little bit more difficult to get rid of than many other cards on 4. So that's why I put it there. I could see it like a top end in an aggressive deck, but that's it. And I doubt it, since I gave it 2 stars. For Arena, it is a little bit more, it's going to sit there, it's going to do something eventually, so therefore it's kind of an average card, but I still deem it like a 5 mana 5/6, because you need to invest the 1 mana in making this one do anything, and therefore it is a little bit more average than considering the card as a 4 mana 5/6. That's not really how you want to be thinking about the card, and therefore it's not immensely great in the Arena. It's okay, it'll work a little bit better than in constructed, but it's not gonna be crazy. We're on Druid now, and then we have the Dreaming Drake, 3 mana 3/4, so it's a nice stat line with taunt, and then a corrupt that gets +2/+2. For constructed, it is a strong card. I'll say that right off the bat. Also why I do give it a 4-star rating in the Arena. Just having that on curve, if you need to drop a 2-drop, it's really good. If you get it corrupted, it's even more crazy. However, looking at the different archetypes that is available, it is a dragon. There might be something you can do with the Dragon Breath or the Dreaming Breath of Dreams for Druid. But it is not something that is there at the moment, and having this one card trying to push an archetype, or being that one missing piece, I think we would have seen a somewhat more testing around doing like a Dragon Druid. So I don't think that this is, even though it's a strong card, I don't think it will find a home in any existing decks, and it won't be able to push an archetype into existence that hasn't been there before. That's why, to explain the ratings, why I do such a discrepancy between the two. But the card in itself is powerful, and sometimes that's just powerful enough to run in run-of-the-mill regular decks, to have like a good substantial minion to be there. So it might be higher, but I don't think so. Then we have Arbor up for Druid. which generates, it's a 5 mana spell, it generates 2 Treants, and it buffs your entire board with +2/+1. So the Treants that you just generated will be +4 +3. It will be a 4/3 minion, and that is kinda strong, not really insane for 5 mana. So it is a token druid where you have a bunch of stuff. That's kind of where it needs to go, like a Treant druid or token kind of playstyle. And token druid has been a thing of the past, and I actually myself tried a lot of testing on token druid in the beginning of this meta that we have right now, and it did not work. There were some missing pieces. I rate this 3 because this could maybe be one of the core pieces to actually make this archetype work just a little bit more, so we get another viable druid build. I'm unsure because the other thing that I saw this was missing was card draw. It fizzled out so fast, and therefore I'm not sure it'll see play, but there's a chance. And when there's a chance, the card deserves like a 3-star rating. It can be tried, it could find a home, but then it might fall flat on its face. But the deck it will go into is a token druid kind of playstyle. For Arena, it's board centric, doing a broad board buff with +2/+1. That is just crazy good. And therefore I rated 1 star above the constructed and rated 4 stars for the Arena. Then we have the Bola Shot. The Bola Shot is around doing some early board control. And this is difficult to evaluate. I give it a 1 because I don't think this is the game plan that Hunter is going for at the moment. I could be completely wrong here. Just have, if there's enough aggro decks, enough Zoo decks, and you have just a little bit slower build in Hunter, this could work. Tom, this I'm very unsure of. And if you disagree, then do start the discussion in the comments. It's great for me to see and debate a little bit. I'm on the fence on this one a little bit, but I do rate it a 1 because I don't see it really supports the game plans that is currently available in Hunter, and I think those deck lists are really refined and have a high win rate already. I'm not sure this will contribute positively to those decks that is already in existence. And this card will not push a new deck into existence, and therefore I rated a 1. But I do think it's strong enough. That's also why I rated 3 stars for the Arena, because it is a strong card revolving around early board control. It's just not a game plan that you want to be pushing in Hunter as it is at the moment.